I knew you were waiting for me. That's how we need to think about the Great Spirit. It is always there. It is always present. It is always available. Plugging into the vitality of the Spirit is about seeing, not just through the physical, but also through the spiritual realm. Our eyes are sensitive to a narrow band of light or radiation that is only a few 100,000ths of a centimeter wide. So our experience of the external world is limited by what we can see through that narrow band of red and violet light. How different the physical world would appear if we could see X-rays like Superman, or we could see infrared rays, or even cosmic rays. In darkness or twilight, shapes can sometimes become distorted or unclear. Have you ever mistaken a tree for a man at dusk, or a mound of dirt, perhaps envisioned it as an animal? So you can see how our judgment can be distorted by the amount of light that we are seeing through. And as we cross the line that separates the physical from the metaphysical, the same principle applies. The human eye needs light to see, and the mind needs light for guidance. The first great revelation of divine creative energy, or the vitality that called all living things into being, was, let there be light. And there was light. And they didn't have to worry about making a deposit with P&M. So we're talking about divine energy as an unwavering, unfailing principle that is never depleted, that never fails, that is always available at all times and in all places. The true spiritual light of the mind is understanding. If new perceptions have shifted the ideas inside our mind, and we are plugged into the vitality of spirit, which is the title of my talk this morning, a new experience of the outer can emerge. And this is what is meant by the parable. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. So the city that is set on the hill that cannot be hid is a high place in consciousness. Hills or mountains metaphysically represent a greater experience of the one. So the parable suggests that we announce our spiritual presence. How many of you, after being exposed to the science of mind teaching for the first time, tried to save your family or save your friends? How did that go? My mother disinherited me. My father released me from his responsibility. And my brother is still waiting for me to come back to the planet. So just so you'll know, in the science of mind teaching, we do not witness. So this is not about talking the talk. It's about walking the walk. Let me show you. This is what I said to my mother. Let me show you how my life has changed. And everything shifted in our relationship. So in my Father's house, another part of the parable, there are many mansions. So that just simply means that there is an unlimited source of vitality that is capable of lighting the entire universe. Whether we hide it under a bushel basket is totally up to us. It is our choice whether we plug in, whether we connect to the vitality of spirit. The whole collective universe of matter and energy only exists as a construction of our consciousness. Whether we see confusion or order is totally up to us. Many of you know that I was just in Seattle for the Ministers' ongoing educational conference, which was an amazing experience. And afterwards, I took a couple of personal days, and one of the days I took the ferry across to Bainbridge Island, and a young woman came up to me and she said, "I just can't believe how slow the pace is here." And I'm like, "Really? Okay." I just came from Albuquerque, where there's these wide open spaces and you can see forever. In Seattle, there's high-rise after high-rise after high-rise after high-rise. And it's crowded and noisy, and she kept insisting that it wasn't that at all. So I said, "Well, where are you from?" And she said, "New York City." So the outside world we experience is simply a projection of our mind. Sometimes the perceptions of the mind lack vitality. Mind infuses ourselves with sadness or grief, but it's important to feel the emotions, to feel the movement from fear into faith when we are in a different and unique environment. So we all know the acronym for fear, which is false evidence appearing real. So this one is about faith. This is a fabulous attitude inside the house. And the house is you. It's your body vehicle. With faith, we can always find our way through any condition towards new possibilities. So even though the city of Seattle was an interesting challenge, Bainbridge Island was beautiful. So our environment does affect our experience. If greater understanding of the mind is based upon the observation of itself as cause, transformation through the vitality of spirit can only happen when we change our thinking. And Dr. Ernest Holmes, who is the founder of the Science of Mind teaching, says, "In flashes of illumination, the inspired have seen into the very center of reality and have brought back with them a distinct impression of what they have seen and felt." So when our minds are trained and disciplined in spiritual thinking, we can frame any picture of life we desire. We paint our own canvas. We become aware of our own inner causation. There is a relationship between the observer and the reality. Our perceptions, our viewpoints, our opinions influence how we navigate through the emotions of our sorrows and our joys, of our successes and our failures. If our thoughts are filled with ideas of lack and limitation, what do you think is going to happen? The outside world is going to picture back at us imminent danger everywhere we look. And Jesus of Nazareth talked about that when he said, "If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness?" So remember, the logical mind does not want us to recognize higher states of consciousness. Its very existence depends upon our belief in separation. That is called your ego, and we all know the acronym for ego, edging God out. So resolving what appears to be outside of ourselves gives us an opportunity to ask the deeper questions. What is the mirror reflecting back at us? What is the internal drama that is really going on inside of us? And more importantly, what are we going to do about it? As many of you know, Aretha Franklin has moved into the light. And I was watching a little clip on Facebook that said that her mommy left home when she was 6, and then her mommy moved into the light when she was 10. I was so blessed to have my mother in my life for 62 years. So I can't even begin to imagine how she could navigate through this experience without that guidance. But she sang it beautifully in the inspirational song. The river was deep, I didn't falter. The mountain was high, I still believed. The valley was low, that didn't stop me. And I know you've heard this quote before, but this is one of my absolute favorites by Dr. Tom Costa. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not stop to build a condominium. So I think about the last 2.5 years that I've been grieving over my mother. And this woman only had hers for 6 years, basically. And look what she created. So it is up to us. And don't you just love the way he flexes his spiritual muscle to move those condominiums out of his way? So speaking of condominiums, many of the structures built on this planet, especially the ancient sacred sites, have information stored within their stones. We also have information stored within the bones of our physical body. And when sound moves through the body, it opens a gateway for information to flow through our physical experience. Certain combinations of sound and light unlock information and activate higher frequencies of intelligence. So quieting the mind, relaxing the body through meditation enhances our ability to receive and absorb the higher frequencies and that higher intelligence. And this in turn has an effect on our brothers and sisters around us, on Mother Earth and Father Sky. Because we perceive light through our eyes and we hear through our ears, there is a tendency to believe that they are separate, when in actuality they are connected. When we are plugged in to the vitality of the Great Spirit, our connection to the crystalline core of Mother Earth and the crystalline core of Father Sky are kind of like a holographic computer. Molecules move, and realities rearrange themselves, and we can begin to walk a greater path of illumination. So the creative power is within you. You have an inner light that enables you to experience the presence of all kinds of good, which isn't necessarily discernible to the ordinary mind. And this is what they mean in Proverbs when they say the spirit of man is the candle of the Lord. So the spirit of man is that divine spark within each of us, that power that is moving through us at all times and in all places, that power that affects us individually as well as those around us collectively. And as human beings, we need to experience the full spectrum of that emotion in order to understand at a cellular level how deep the feeling of powerlessness can be, how lost the vitality of that divine creative feminine within us can be, and how much really needs to be transmuted through our experience. When we can find our way out of the darkness and stop compartmentalizing and separating and blaming everyone outside and begin to understand that we create our experience, we can start participating in the creation of life. And the pathway to get there is through your emotions. At the conference this weekend, that was one of the things that they really emphasized. As ministers, we often forget self-care. So it's very important to really love yourself. And when we do that, our emotions enhance our ability to feel. And our feelings remind our physical body about the experience of cosmic love. Life is like a giant classroom. Our stuff is just simply the way we learn how to heal the aspects of our multidimensional selves so that we can become one and be in the flow of the one. So emotion is the key that unlocks the door. I took a day this week for a Heidi day, and it was lovely. I played in my garden, and I listened to music, and I danced in my living room, and then I experienced that beautiful, soft rain on Friday afternoon. So make a commitment to love yourself and to love the world around you. When all our brothers and sisters come to the realization that love is meant to be shared, the entire frequency of our beloved planet will transform itself, and a new earth that is plugged into the vitality of spirit will be revealed. Thank you, and namaste.